Hello and welcome to this video in which we will talk about kamikaze drones, short and long-range autonomous systems, aerial, terrestrial, maritime, which are massively used by Ukraine. I have been visiting Ukraine for 2.5 years, allowing me to witness its evolution. At Eurosatory a few weeks ago, global manufacturers presented their innovations. We observed the main trends, their current projects, and the range from small to large systems. So I propose a best of the stands and presentations of the innovations we were able to see. Eurosatory. We start at Thales. You have a drone ecosystem. Look at everything around us. We're going to focus a little on all of this. We're going to talk about remote-controlled ammunition. Hello, my general. Yes, hello. So the most beautiful of the remote-controlled ammunition is that of Thales.
That's it, of course, obviously.
It's called Thales.
Thales, exactly. What's special about it? It's a solution that you see behind you. It's a small plane that can fly for 45 minutes and goes up to 10 kilometers inside enemy lines, and with a military load to be able to hit an enemy vehicle or people around the enemy vehicle.
What type of sensor does it have?
And behind you as well. Here it is. So you see, it has a small camera at the entrance with a radio antenna that allows it to stay in contact, and then it is propeller driven, and so it flies for these 3/4 of an hour.
So typically this will be against light armored vehicles.
We are on a fixed wing, while we will see, for example, there are small rotating wings. We recognize Novodems, we recognize Parrot. There, it's an aerial mapper up there. Aerial mapper, exactly. So that it's really efficient mapping.
There's also EOS technologies.
Everyone is there, and so everyone relies on the bricks.
Thales technological?
In reality.
Exactly. In fact, we take what's best. We select platforms best suited for their intended use and equip them with Thales-specific secure networks. We also add optronic or military loads in a secure environment. It's a unique platform that integrates several platforms, allowing one operator to control multiple drones, reducing risks compared to the current one-man, one-drone approach. Thank you, my general.
Before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor, thanks to whom we can make these videos, and our sponsor today is...
Conflict of Nations is a free real-time player versus player strategy game. Choose a real country to lead during a global conflict in the 21st century and fight up to 128 other real players in real time in games that can last for weeks. Use numerous units to build your army with tanks, planes and ships, then declare war on your neighbors or forge alliances with other players. Define your strategy to engage in epic battles and set out to conquer the world. And that's really the best part of this game. It's the real-time strategy dimension against real other human players. The same account works on PC and mobile. Follow the video description link for 13,000 gold coins and a free month of online subscription. This is only valid for 30 days, so act quickly. Alright, let's get back to our video. We're arriving at the Extancy booth with my buddy JB.
Hello, Xavier.
Hi, JB. What's
That you?
are doing at Extancy? So Extancy, we are a service company, so we do drone operations. So we mainly produce for the armed forces today via a UGAP contract, and we also work for civilian clients. I see something very, very sexy on you. It's a rather unconventional shape. So it's a second project. It's a spin-off of Extancy, which is called Astrodyne. So it's an ultra-fast drone, which was developed by technical teams who today work for Red Bull in tracking-based jumpers, who end up in wingsuit. They presented their project to us, showcasing a small drone that reaches a speed of exactly 230 miles per hour. In civilian conditions, in mountain operations, hot weather, cold weather, so really a great performance. So the goal is...
To make it a remotely operated ammunition. Exactly.
It's about seeing if we can find partners to help us work on AI and on setting up a small charge if necessary. So this is the smallest model, which therefore weighs 2 kg and with 500 grams of payload. And we go up to 35 kilograms and 5 kilos of payload.
When remotely operated ammunition and kamikaze drones arrive at 74.565 miles each, there's no time to react. When they arrive at 186 miles each, it's guaranteed to hit the target every time. Similar versions, albeit slower, have already been seen in Ukraine. Congratulations, you are cornered.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
When we talk about prowling ammunition kamikaze drones, we can't go 50 meters on this show without falling on a prowling ammunition. They are really, really everywhere. All brands make them today. So it's not really a novelty. We know how effective some are not expensive. I wanted to show many times in Ukraine, but what is interesting is to see them also in their environment, see how effective they are on the ground, at which we can do frequency evasion to avoid being jammed. Despite everything, the price remains very affordable. We move and we arrive in Ukraine.
They have a nice booth, the Ukrainians.
Yes, there are plenty of kamikaze drones. But there is especially the Magura 5. So, in Ukraine they have plenty. They have the CBB, etc. It's the drone that had a strategic effect on the Black Sea Fleet. Starting from October 2022, they directly attacked ships in the Crimean port. They gradually destroyed nearly a third of the Black Sea Fleet using extremely affordable and user-friendly systems. We are on version 5 here.
I'm unsure if this is the one they actually use.
Previously, at this location, the Starlink antenna was present. The camera was positioned at the front. You have hundreds of kilos of explosives in there. And it allows you to sink very large ships with real-time image feedback, piloted in real time remotely from hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away.
Because the carrier is the satellite.
Direct communication limited to 186 miles is no longer necessary with our large antenna and high aim. The system is nearly limitless. We are at the stand of NEODI, which represents the Ukrainian industries. Here it's an association, and in particular we focus on DeViro. DeViro is a company that you may know with the Leleka Cent, which is a drone that was developed from 2014 directly on site by engineers, really volunteers at first. It was very, very artisanal. And it has industrialized with huge success since it's the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance observation drone, perhaps the most known in Ukraine and the most effective with a cost that is very, very, very low. We are below 50,000 euros for the complete system with 2 drones and the control station. So we compare with here and there. It resists jamming, electronic warfare, etc. DeViro made a second drone, which is now a kamikaze drone. That's the one. It has a range that should go up to 80 kilometers if we shoot at a fixed target, that is with coordinates.
But rather 35 kilometers.
If we have to pilot it from the ground, it's called the Bulava. You also see that it has its camera at the front. It has several possibilities. Either it will be piloted to the ground to go to the impact, or there is shape recognition that will allow, when we have a certain altitude, to designate the target.
The device operates independently and in combination with the Leleka Cent, now also a communication relay. It improves distance by flying at 1.24 miles undetectable due to no noise. It designates the target for the ball to impact. It's inexpensive, operational, and similar to the Switchblade you may have heard of.
There are several versions. They are made by AeroVironment. It's a company that specializes in drones and teleoperated ammunition. There are several versions. There is the Switchblade 300. There is the Switchblade 600, which is much bigger. Now they have even developed a version called the Blackwing, which is capable of making changes of environment. That is to say that it can be launched, for example, by a submarine. The system floats, and then it will take off to do its work. You have the Puma. So the Puma is the one you see here, the Puma. It has been very successful, very good intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance observation, recognition system. And on the other hand, the Ukrainians plebiscite, they use it a lot. So you see this system, which is complementary to the observation, which then allows to send a teleoperated ammunition to go to the impact. Finally, it is the observation that worked well. Then they also liked the other systems. For example, Polish, the Warmate, which was a priori more effective according to the Ukrainians. We are at the KNDS stand with our friends Antoine and Marcel from EOS, whom you've seen in a previous video at the Bourget. And behind you, there is still, it is beautiful, the VELOS 330, is that right? Exactly. What is its peculiarity?
VELOS stands for high velocity. The 330 in the name corresponds to the wingspan in centimeters, like in all EOS ranges. There is a first specific thing that jumps to the eye indeed, like TIR aeronautics. A flying wing then come see from a particular angle. It's not just a flying wing. You see the thickness of the fuselage. We are rather on the carrying fuselage of the American B-21, so I will have the finesse of the glider and the carrying capacity of the plane. The interest in making this type of machine is the ability to fly very long or very fast, reaching speeds of 400 to 500 kilometers per hour with a roof-mounted turbine. The goal is to be able to hit a heavy armored vehicle at a distance of 100 kilometers in less than 30 minutes.
We exceeded the arena requirements by doing more.
I changed the engine. I switched to 4-stroke gasoline. With the same wing, I go to 500 kilometers. Okay. I switched to electric. I have removable brave tall underneath. I do a mini STTL. So now I can take Rohim or Rohim and a TETS, or Rohim and a TETS. So it's not necessarily in one-way and suicide mode. It can be the real teleoperated ammunition or an armed intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance drone, let's say like that.
At very high speed then.
When it's in electric version, we're at 100 kilometers per hour.
Reasonable in...
The gasoline prowler, we're at 100 kilometers per hour, classic. But here, you have to go very fast, yes.
In the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance version, you mention 100 kilometers away, which means there's only a short time between launch and reaching the target destination.
Speed is crucial because even if the destination detects the object on radar, they lack sufficient time to engage it.
Something that arrives at 500 kilometers per hour, basically, it's too late.
So that's a very good point to start with. The second is that we do proximity flying, so we can fly at 50 or 100 meters above the ground. Today, few tools allow you to lock in at 248.549 miles OH, passing 109 yards, 3 feet, 3 inches above ground.
Yes.
The second is also the EOS trademark. We are carbon-free. That means there is no embedded carbon in the vector.
What does that change?
It's quite discreet on the radar, let's put it that way.
Those are alloys of composites.
That we use indeed. So yes, obviously there will remain a metallic part on it, but less compared to, let's say, the competition.
And then radars above to capture that. We typically capture what's underneath rather than capturing directly.
I'm returning to my sensor question since I don't notice an antenna or a front-facing camera.
All our sensors are, as we are carbon-free,
The antennas.
integrated inside to avoid sticking out, as they don't work well with tactical gloves and night vision goggles.
Yes.
It's easier to store, it's easier to transport and maintain, and
So when it comes back, if it's ever an intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance version and it comes back, then it lands on its belly.
either with a parachute, more traditionally, or on its belly if the runway allows. Because as we have a finesse near 30, it lengthens. Landing on the belly with a parachute works well for a long runway.
Come on, we'll follow this closely. We'll go see the first tests with great pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. There are numerous remotely operated ammunition, kamikaze drones, or whatever you call them, with certainly dozens on display at the show.
They are all still relatively similar.
Nevertheless, there is a constant. Yes, we agree to use it in air-to-ground or even in air-to-air.
Ukrainians are becoming skilled at intercepting Russian drones using Euro 500 drones. We have it in maritime. That, there is no problem. However, in ground-to-ground, I don't know if it's not sexy, I don't know if it's not useful.
The Ukrainians use it, we see it.
They use, for example, kinds of very light, small vehicles. They load about 40 kilograms of explosives into drones, send them to Russian lines, and detonate them. The Russians, on the other hand, use much larger MTLBs, which they transform by loading with tons of explosives. Each time we've seen one, it has exploded before reaching its target, which is good for Ukrainians as it causes big explosions. It seems no one is presenting it here. Is it not ethical enough to highlight? I'm unsure.
Is it an economic issue?
Because obviously suicide systems, they have to be ultra low cost. And in Ukraine, they take systems that cost, it's almost like small Jeeps that we buy for children's games at Toys R Us. So it's stuff that costs 300, 400 euros. On which we put the explosive and send it in a straight line to explode at 100 meters. Across in the other trench, and maybe it's a question of cost. The industrialists have no interest in developing a system that is too light, because simply they would not find their interest. In any case, the kamikaze drones in the air, in the maritime, there we are sure that it's a bright future, and don't forget to click on the link in the video description. To play Conflict of Nations, a free real-time player versus player game set during a 21st century global conflict where you choose your strategy. Engage in battles to conquer the world. You can get 13,000 gold coins and a free 1-month subscription by clicking the link in the video comment.
Don't waste time, as this is only valid for 30 days.
I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you very soon for a new video. See you soon.